Hey guys, it's me, Thunderwave here, and today I'm gonna be reacting to the Gay Transformer Knockout by Paper Plane. Yeah, I'm gonna be so this is my first ever proper Transformer video, I guess, because I do want to take a break from My Little Pony, I guess, and I was a Transformers fan before My Little Pony growing up, so yeah, but any- but, but anyways, let's go.
But don't just take it from me. Take it from my good friend, the
Gay
Transformer
Knockout.
This is going to be juicy.
Episode 10 of Emmy Award-winning animated series Transformers Prime introduces us to a new character called Knockout. Knockout is the Decepticons' new medic, and throughout the show he spends his downtime talking about his illustrious finish, striking flamboyant little poses, checking his nails, and making himself look very pretty. In his first scene, arguably his most important in the entire show, the following exchange takes place.
Yes, right, you're one of those.
Come again.
So, Knockout's gay, right? The layman may say yes, but the answer's a little more complicated than that. When I was like 14 and I watched this show beginning to end for the first time, I was like, damn, this guy's a...
I was actually 13 when the show ended because this show came out in 2010 when I was 10, but yeah, I did watch it when it came out, I guess. I didn't really watch it like when it came out properly. I think I watched it a year later when I started secondary school in 2011. So around season 2, I think. No, it wasn't. I think season 2 came out in 2012. But yeah, man, I miss the show, honestly. I was 10 when it started and 13 when it ended.
friend of Dorothy's if I've ever seen one. If Knockout wore shoes, he'd be light in the loafers, you know what I mean? Today I'm comfortably bisexual and I'm far more aware of what good and bad gay representation looks like. Where does this leave the good doctor? Like I said, it's complicated. My whole life I've had this idea of Knockout in my head, one that's largely been shaped by the fandom that surrounds him. Knockout's a prissy gay guy who's in love with his big buff truck partner named Breakdown. In my head, his gayness is so powerful that he's been posed like this on my shelf for the better part of 2 years.
I actually have a legacy figure on my collection too, but he's in his vehicle mode at the moment because I don't really like putting like my figures in robot mode. Most of the times I like keeping them in vehicle mode.
What was he doing? What is that? But on a recent rewatch of Transformers Prime, I came to this realization that
Is your laptop ancient? Don't get stuck in the past like Olaf. You'll find everything you need for uni at Curry's, like
and I'm probably going to get some flack for spitting the facts here, but I realized that Knockout isn't the gay representation the fandom gassed him up to be for so many years.
Precisely my what?
I feel like people just sort of associate Knockout as being the gay one who's Breakdown's boyfriend, when really his supposed gayness could very easily be read as just intense flamboyancy. He's more ostentatious than anything, like a theater kid. His vibe is one of deep smugness and vanity. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else and he wants the entire Decepticon armada to know just how shiny and pretty he is. But on the contrary, Knockout does exhibit a lot of traits that could be just as easily read as queer-coded, in a possibly out-of-touch 2010 kind of way. Knockout claims to be an automobile enthusiast, which leads to a couple scenes throughout the show where he compliments the other characters' vehicle modes in a way that could be very easily interpreted as him hitting on them.
Sweet rims. 24 gauge. You're real heavy duty. Though I must confess, I have always admired your lustrous finish.
There's a couple other things we'll get to later, but Right now, I guess you can call me a Knockout centrist. I can see why people would argue he is not gay, but reading Knockout as gay is a totally valid interpretation. I'm not coming out here to tell you to stop drawing your Knockout X Breakdown art or to not ship Knockout with whatever boy kisser you want. I would gladly ship Knockout with my own self-insert OC if I had one, cause you know what? Gay or not, Knockout is a knockout.
I live to serve.
People have called Knockout a bad gay stereotype because he's cowardly and obsessed with his own appearance, and the show makes a lot of jokes at the expense of his fruity demeanor. Well, what if I like the bad stereotype? What if I think it's kinda hot? What if I don't care that he doesn't accurately represent a gay man? A lot of gay people might think Knockout is a bad stereotype, but also a lot of gay people might want to have some.
Yeah, so with the whole gay thing, I don't really have a problem with it personally because, you know, a lot of people, you know, like actors, I guess, like are gay in a sense. Like, for example, the late Kevin Conroy, who passed away about like 3 years ago, like in 2022. Like, he was gay, but he he also played Batman as well. So and so, you know, how does being gay affect your, like, you know, acting a performance, I guess, in a sense.
Horizontal refreshment with him. I'm sure a lot of straight people just don't really care either way. So if you're LGBT and you think Knockout is offensive or a bad stereotype, that's completely fine. I don't mean to invalidate your feelings at all, and you're totally allowed to feel that way. I can understand that perspective completely. Personally, I don't find him all that offensive, and if I were to articulate to you why I feel that way, I don't know if I could. It just doesn't bother me all that much. I'm sorry guys, gals, and non-binary pals, I don't have an answer to this one. I really do not think Transformers Prime sets out for Knockout to become the gay icon he turned out to be, but does that really matter? Clearly, some people's readings of Knockout have aligned in such a way that an entire community has been built around this one character alone. People saw Knockout and have interpreted him in such a way that doesn't entirely contradict the events of the show or what Knockout does in said show. But then I guess that raises another question. If Knockout wasn't intended to be a gay rep, but retroactively became one, does that mean it's okay to criticize his portrayal as being stereotypical and offensive? As far as I know, the only time Prime's creators have ever acknowledged Knockout being gay was during a BotCon 2011 panel, where a small group of them seemed almost uncomfortable to acknowledge this reading. Two of them in particular, executive producer Jeff Klein and producer-writer Duane Capizzi, both make a couple of bizarre statements to explain why Knockout is like that.
The arts don't necessarily have, they don't have to be produced, so you don't have to really have that kind of thing going on.
There's a lot going on here, so we'll break it down real quick.
Nemesis is a very tough place. I don't know. I think it's a don't ask, don't tell kind of. I think it's a don't ask, don't tell kind of place.
Here, Jeff Klein makes the bizarre claim that the Decepticon army enforces the very real United States policy, don't ask, don't tell. This policy was created in 1994 and basically banned non-straight members of the United States military from disclosing their own sexual identity. It was a misguided attempt to protect members of the LGBT community who wanted to serve in the military, and resulted in over 13,000 troops being discharged up until the bill was repealed in 2011. Now, I know the Decepticons are meant to be evil, but isn't this like a little too real? If we're going to go with the narrative of Knockout being the gay rep of Transformers Prime, is this really the setting we're putting him in? A setting where you're claiming he's having to hide his own identity and lie about who he is to not piss off Megatron, who you've now canonized as probably being homophobic for not letting gays into his army. I mean, if that is the case, Knockout's probably doing a really bad job of hiding it, right?
There was a glitch in the wall systems.
I think this one's a little self-explanatory. I don't think calling gay people a mistake is the inclusionary win you think it is, sir. I don't like to think the worst of people, so I'm going to assume that this was not intended to be hateful or weird. The pair of them had to give some kind of answer, so they tried to be funny on the spot without really thinking through the implications of what they were saying. This was 2011, that was 14 years ago, for Christ's sake. That's a completely different world to the one we're in now. It was so long ago.
Ah, yes, 2011. A time where, you know, everything was good. Nowadays it's just shit. It's just like shit at this point. Man, like sometimes I wish I was a kid again.
that when this panel happened, the don't ask, don't tell policy was still in effect. I'm not even that upset about their response. I'm more upset by the Oliver Twist-ass accent from this person asking the question.
Knockout is gay, isn't he?
Please, sir, is Knockout gay?
Knockout is gay, isn't he?
Obviously, neither of these statements should be taken all that seriously or as canon, but the fact somebody had to ask if Knockout was gay at all says everything you need to know about the intent of the creatives behind this show. In fact, Transformers Prime art director Jose Lopez had this to say about Knockout's design in the Transformers Prime art book.
When we started designing Knockout, the only directive was to make him a fast car, a foil for Bumblebee. I remember looking at rims and saying, just pimp him out. We gave him lots of red and gold. That made him feel more extravagant. I remember thinking that he'd be attractive in bot mode. Then the studio said that he's the sexiest bot they'd ever seen. That's where his vanity came from.
This isn't much to work off of, but here we get a better understanding behind the intent of the character. My reading of this statement is that Knockout's extravagance comes from his vanity. He's a stud and he knows it, and he wants to make sure you know it too. So circling back around to the question of whether Knockout should be criticized even though the evidence suggests he probably wasn't intended to be gay, I'd hesitantly say yes. Like, there's no way the creators of Prime couldn't have anticipated this reading, right? Were they unaware that this vanity could be so easily read as camp? Are they just oblivious? Are they stupid? The reason my answer was so hesitant was because I feel like the writers deserve more flack than the
I actually don't mind a Knockout being gay, like if I'm being honest, because I actually like Knockout a lot. His voice actor is Darren Norris, who's also Cosmo in the Fairly Odd Parents, Jorgen in the Fairly Odd Parents, Mr. Turner in the Fairly Odd Parents, that one dad in that old Disney show called the The Replacements. Sorry guys, I'll try to remember the show name. He was also in that one Spider-Man game for the PS1, where he was Eddie Brock and Venom, if you didn't know that.
Character of Knockout. It does feel really out of touch to write him in this way and seem perplexed when someone says he acts like he wants to kiss Megatron on his hot, wrinkly mouth.
So go on, Big M. Tell me you love me more than Starscream.
Something I completely forgot about until my most recent rewatch of the show was Knockout hitting on RC in the same manner in which he hits on all the guys in the show too.
You have lovely features. Perfect for a painful little procedure I call the nip and tuck.
If I was being a whack job conspiracy theorist, I would say that they put this in to make Knockout look less gay, but I have no...
If 50% off your first month at Pure Gym with no joining fee is the kind of motivation you need to get
basis for that sentiment at all, it kinda accidentally confirms he's probably bisexual instead. Maybe I need to rename this video to the Bisexual Transformer or something. Speaking of bisexual, a few years ago, Knockout's voice actor Darren Norris came out as bisexual.
And this is the guy I was talking about earlier, well, not earlier, now literally, Darren Norris. I think he's in his 60s at the moment. Yeah, because he turned 60 last year, if I recall.
Bisexual. Some fans have made the completely unfounded claim that Knockout was his bi-awakening, and it was that role that allowed him to feel comfortable in his own body. Not only has this never been confirmed, but I think we probably shouldn't be making stuff up to try and make a character sound more progressive than they actually are. I think guessing the circumstances in which Darren Norris decided to come out of the closet is gross, and I would like it if you stop doing that, please. From what I can gather, Darren Norris...
I actually want to meet this guy someday, though, because honestly, Knockout is such a good character, though. How can you hate Knockout? I'm sorry, but how can you hate this guy?
Norris likes Knockout, but in my research for this video, I couldn't find any interviews where he talked about the character at length. I'm not saying Darren Norris is the authority on whether or not thinking Knockout is queer is valid, but I do think hearing about his experience and maybe what direction he was given on the show would be a big help to further understanding this whole thing. So, elephant in the room time, let's talk about Breakdown. Breakdown is introduced in the same episode as Knockout and serves as a sort of foil to Knockout. It's a dynamic you've seen a million times. One's big and one's small, one's strong and one's fast. You know how it is. While Knockout displays a lot of very queer-coded characteristics, Breakdown doesn't. He's more of a generic brute archetype. Now that doesn't mean Breakdown couldn't be gay. You can be gay and not act like Louis Spence.
What's gonna happen? Gonna shoot me? I doubt it. You'd have to catch me first, I'm like a whippet.
I would like to clarify that going forward, I am talking about the Transformers Prime version of these characters, not IDW 1 or 2. Both of these Knockouts and Breakdowns are canon lovers, they kiss and give each other cooties and stuff. IDW 1's Knockout is very controversial and a much bigger can of worms than Prime Knockout is, and I do not have the mental energy to talk about all that. I'm saving that for the shouting match I'm planning to have with my chiropractor. Just going off of the show, nothing else. Transformers Prime, the hit animated TV show alone, not much is done to show that Knockout and Breakdown are anything more than just partners. Maybe friends at a push. Though I do get a sense of camaraderie between the pair, and I think they genuinely do enjoy each other's company. There's a couple moments where Breakdown is just kinda hanging around with Knockout when he probably doesn't need to be. They go on a lot of missions together too. So what evidence is there towards these two being a couple? Like I said, they work together a lot in season 1, and Breakdown canonically buffs Knockout's finish, which could be seen as an intimate act by some.
Breakdown may act the brute, but he's a maestro behind a rotary buffer. Detailing was so much easier when Breakdown was around.
It's like if I broke into your house and did your make.
Oh man, like sometimes I wish I can go back in time and relive the 2010s again because, man.
Up for you, right? Like that'd be pretty intimate. Spoiler warning, but in the middle of season 2, Breakdown gets his spine ripped out of his ass and dies. And Knockout's reaction to this is a resounding, "Oh well."
Okay, so the clip that he showed like just now wasn't for Breakdown, it was for Shockwave in season 3. But, you know,
it doesn't trouble you to watch what remains of your former partner endure your scientific endeavors?
Not really.
Like, whenever Breakdown comes up, Knockout either doesn't care at all or he makes some kind of snarky joke. I've heard people justify Knockout's lack of reaction to Breakdown's death as him internalizing the trauma of losing the love of his life. That's fine as a headcanon, but it shouldn't be treated as gospel because that just isn't what happens in the show at all. If he is internalizing that grief, it's not shown to us in any way. Call me a prissy pants or whatever. But to me, this isn't enough to see them as a couple in Transformers Prime. Maybe I'm not shipping-brained, but as I've grown older and more comfortable in my own identity and sexuality, I've sort of come to terms with the fact that the face of queer rep in Transformers is entirely aura-based. And I think that's the conclusion I've reached with Knockout as a whole. It's less about the implied relationship between him and Breakdown or the intent of the creators, but more about the air he gives off and how people reacted to that. Knockout's aura is readable as one of such vehement queerness that it almost makes you forget Starscream's literally wearing heels. When I was a teenager, Knockout felt like the most daring.
I was also sorry. I was also a teenager as well at that point of time when the show was still airing, and yeah, how old is Paper Planes, honestly? Because he's probably like he's probably like a year older than me, if I'm being honest. Because he said that Prime ended for him when he was like 14, and for me it was 13, so it must be like a 1 year difference thing, I guess. Paper Plane, if you do watch this video, like I feel your pain, man. Well, not pain, but I do feel your, like whatever it is, like in this video, yeah.
Oh my god, can they get away with that? Gay representation I'd ever seen. Obviously, it's not, but this was before I'd seen Happy Together, so cut me some slack. I think something important to remember is the time period in which Transformers Prime came out. Back then, cartoons didn't really talk about gender or identity in the way they do now. Back in 2011, this might have seemed huge and groundbreaking to some. I don't know, I was too young. I didn't engage in fandom at all. I was a little baby.
I think back then, things were a bit difficult, I guess, because you couldn't really like come out as gay at that time, but nowadays I feel like you can, if I'm being honest. So yeah.
Be playing Lego Batman on the Xbox 360, watching Transformers.
I will play that game eventually, Lego Batman 1 on this channel. I have completed Lego Batman 2 on this channel, but I'm currently on free at the moment. So yeah, once I'm done with free, I'll then go to the first game on this channel.
Prime and eating dinosaur nuggies without a care in the world while my parents argued in the other room about the insider trading they were doing getting discovered. I don't think Knockout is bad queer rep, whether they intended him to be or not, because I see him as more of a stepping stone to stronger, harder gays. I'm sure at least one person in the world saw Knockout and Transformers Prime and felt seen, and that's amazing. I mean that's genuinely great. I'm not gonna gatekeep how people came to terms with their own identity. You wanna know what my bi-awakening was? Jack fucking Skellington. So you know what? Knockout's queer as hell. Ship him with whoever you want. This whole video was just me trying to understand the intent of the creators and why the fans reacted in the way they did. And I feel like I've come to an understanding about both. The people in charge of Transformers Prime may have accidentally gifted the people with a fabulous gay icon that retroactively managed to warp their memories of how gay he actually was. The memories became so warped, in fact, that on Valentine's Day 2021, the official Transformers Instagram account canonized the pair as being a couple. I guess that goes to show how far fandom influence goes, and I think that's pretty awesome. For once, you guys did a pretty good job. Now your next mission? Justify Knockout's many piss jars. I have yet to see any fans figure out the purpose for his many piss jars. If we can get to the bottom of that, I can rest easy.
Breakdown. We're dropping here.
Well then, that was my reaction to the gay Transformer Knockout, and yeah, you know, like, regardless of the fact that if he's trying to be gay or not, why should it matter though? Look, if he's gay, he's gay. You can't really, like, you shouldn't judge someone based on their like gender, I guess, like, or sexuality. We also shouldn't judge people based on the stuff that they are, such as furries, because, you know, I am friends with a furry, but I don't judge her. I'm also friends with other people too, but I never judge anyone, okay? So yeah. But anyways, yeah, I haven't done these videos in months, honestly, and the reason why I haven't been doing these videos lately is because, you know, like, I did have work, you know, during the summer holidays, and yeah, I do plan to bring these videos back. And I also realized I'm using my old Pony OC for some reason, but it's only because I haven't linked my new one to this to Streamlabs at the moment. So yeah, and so yeah, if you're wondering why I'm using my old OC, it's because I haven't actually added it into. It's because I haven't added the new one yet to this software, but I will do it after this video. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys next time, and bye. A Thunderwave out.